Yes, everybody, how are we doing? Good morning. I've even got a shirt on. That's what happens when Jim Ratcliffe comes in, making me do the shoulder shuffle. I'm not even hungover. I only had a couple of beers last night, but wow, yesterday was a big day. As far as I'm concerned, you can talk about all your transfers when we will later on in the show. We'll talk about Casemiro, Antony, Begovic, Pulisic, anyone else of it. I have no idea. We're going to cover all the transfer news later in the show, but it is all about the Glazers selling Manchester United. Make sure you do not lose focus on that. That's the first thing I would say to begin this show today. Do not lose focus on the fact that Jim Ratcliffe has come out and said that he wants to buy Manchester United. No matter who we sign, no matter what happens, that has to be the focus of all Manchester United fans. This is what we've been waiting for. For so long, that door has been bolted shut with 4, 5, 6 different locks. Now that door is starting to open. There's a little bit of light creeping through the edge of it. Of course, it's not going to happen quickly. That's the first thing I would say as well. But we're going to speak about it this morning. Who's down here in the comments? There's lots and lots of you joining in. And look, this is a time to really have a big smile on your face. Because it's been a terrible summer. But I'll tell you what, in the context of the fact that the Glazers have been preparing to sell, kind of makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? Who's down here? Wayne and Stephen, I can see you on Facebook. Good morning to you. Daisy, Matt, I can see you there. Alex and Al. I've got Paula, we've got Josh, I can see you there, buddy. How you doing? Charlie, Vicky, I can see you there this morning too. And also, actually, before I forget, because I thought it was a very nice message I received, I do actually listen to your messages. I didn't know whether I was going to remember, but I managed to. I'm just going to quickly get her name. I've got a message, I've got a DM from Georgina asking for a shout out for Kieran. So big up to Georgina and Kieran, who both watch the show. Thank you very much to both of you. I did remember. I managed to remember. Go on me. I just gave myself a little round of applause. Anyway, but look, I had such a big smile on my face yesterday. Yesterday, from waking up to like, really? Elon Musk is tweeting about Man United. I was like, crying out loud, man. Could we get any more? Could we become any more of a meme? And then I went into my show in the afternoon, where I explained in detail Swiss Ramble's fantastic thread on the financials of Manchester United. Just use that as the evidence. Just anybody who doubts the Glazers, just point them in the direction of that video. That's the purpose of that video. It's to give you the ammunition that you need to bring people towards the cause. Because this is a time when everyone's got to come together. Everyone's got to come together. And the protests on Monday, I cannot wait for it. It's going to be momentous. The energy behind that protest, look, as I said, like fantastic job that the 1958 have done in mobilising and continuing regular protests. But this is a consequence of it. We've reached this situation now where Jim Ratcliffe has been smoked out. And look, I've spoken about the Michael Knighton situation. I don't think he ever had the money. I don't think the consortium ever had the money to buy the club when it was presented that they did. And I think that was why we all had fair questions about it. But ultimately, it's probably somewhat, even if it's only a percentage, 1 or 2 or 3, it's helped in smoking Jim Ratcliffe out. So I can't consider it a massively, completely negative thing. So the society down there saying, do it anyway, People's TV. Can't wait to get Barry on that bus. Sam, the transfers even matter until we get these filthy Glazers out. How do you feel about Pulisic on loan? No transfers don't matter. But ultimately, we need our man here. By the way, I don't know why I pulled up Jim Ratcliffe there. I mean Eric Ten Hag, to have support. And I will speak about that a little bit later in the show. What are you saying? Pralad, you're saying I'm for the Glazers out, but how is it their fault for mistakes the players make? Example, De Gea's mistaken. This is, Pralad, that's just a case of you looking in it's called root cause analysis, all right? You Google it after if you want. The players at Manchester United are a product of their environment. You've seen how many players. Jadon Sancho, man. Jadon Sancho is not a bad footballer, but he's become a shadow of himself at Manchester United. It's the players are products of their environment, all right? Liverpool players who go to Liverpool become better versions of themselves because of the situation the players are surrounded by, the coach, the environment they're in. Manchester United, all the players are getting enveloped, not enveloped. Said that yesterday. My mum had a go at me for that one. Cheers, mum. But they become a product of their environment. They suffocate from the pressure. So if you want to try and focus on the players now, you can do that all you want. But the Glazers are you've got to cut the head of the snake off. The Glazers are the Hydra. Avram, Joel, Ed, is it Darcy? I don't even know the names of them. Sean, you said I've been enjoying your content for a few months, mate. Have a beer, mate. Cheers, Sean. Honestly, I can't tell you, ladies and gents, I'll say it quickly here. I'm getting inundated with messages at the moment. I'm trying to reply to as many as possible. Got a message I've got a few emails yesterday, loads of people flying into the DMs. I'll permanently leave my DMs open, because if there's somebody that needs a bit of help and they want to be able to reach out to me, I want to make sure that they can reach out to me. But I do genuinely try and listen to as much of what you say. This is a genuine community that's being built, and I think there are some, and trust me, this isn't me throwing shade at anybody, it's just in general, some communities on YouTube aren't genuine communities, in my opinion. And I mean this is not shade at anyone, this is not shade at Goldbridge, or I know that people are going to try and put two and two together, but I'm just very proud of what we built here, and what we're building, because this is the end game. This is what we've been waiting for. This really is what we are waiting for. I'm going to bring a video out at lunchtime today on Jim Ratcliffe. A pure, informative video on Jim Ratcliffe. What's been his business career path to date? How much money is he worth? How has he been involved in sports elsewhere? Has he had any success in being involved in sports? What issues has he had? I'll bring that all to you in a video that's going out at lunchtime today. And then later on this evening, I'm going to be doing a video on the transfers. You can't ignore the transfers. The priority is certainly with the Glazers and with Jim Ratcliffe, but we have to juggle all these things at once. It's absolutely wild. Danny, I would completely agree with you there. It really is the case. That protest on Monday, the protest on Monday is going to be absolutely, I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for it. I really, really can't. Zarul, you joining us? Remember, let me know where you're watching from, buddy. I'll try and give you a shout out. Oh. The big important thing here to remember, before I get too excited, and I have got excited, I'll be honest, last 24 hours, I've got swept up in it. Of course you get swept up in it. But the thing we have to remember here about Jim Ratcliffe, about the Glazers, and about selling Manchester United, is Manchester United is one of the most recognisable brands in the world. In all corners of the globe, there will be somebody who points at that badge and just says Manchester United. They know exactly who Manchester United are. So Jim Ratcliffe will not be the only person interested in buying Manchester United. Now, Miguel Delaney was one of the first. Fair play to Miguel for bringing this out yesterday afternoon. This was before, or around about the same time that the Bloomberg news came out about the fact that the Glazers were willing to sell a minority share. And he's saying here that at least 3 consortiums are readying a formal bid for Manchester United, and that doesn't include Musk. Now, the $6 billion, by the way, has been the price tag put on Manchester United. And just to put this into context, by the way, when the Glazers bought Manchester United, they bought Manchester United in terms of cash. They paid $250 million of their own money. The $500 million, there or thereabouts, in between 5 and 600 million, was in a leveraged loan that was put on the club, and that's the debt that we've been trying to pay off ever since, but the debt's the exact same. But they've only put in 250. Now, if that $6 billion happens, of course, 600 million of that is going to be on the debt repayment. But they are going to make billions and billions off the sale of Manchester United. And they've already made a substantial amount of money, which I covered in that video yesterday. I implore you to watch that if you haven't. It's sickening. But they're going to make so much money, and this is where we have to make sure that we don't just back down as fans. I think what we've seen over the last 18 months or so with the European Super League, with everything really, that fans genuinely have power. And it's sort of sold as like football without fans is nothing, and it's completely and utterly true. But what we've seen with the European Super League and the fact that everyone inside the Premier League, United fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, everybody combined and united against that, and it got stopped. And then we got the Liverpool game postponed, and all the laser focus was on Manchester United at that point, and the ownership. We have to make sure that we continue this, and I'm going to go on to the 1958 in a minute. Now, But this is why we've got to make sure that we continue it. It's from the Daily Mail yesterday from Patrick Tuher, who actually I've never heard of before, but maybe he works in the business department. He said that the Glazers are in exclusive talks to sell a minority stake in United to US private equity firm Apollo. Now, I'm not going to comment on the owners of Apollo. Trust me, I've seen everything that has been said and is factual. But this is exactly why due diligence has to happen. This is exactly why it won't be a quick process. But we all know who we want as the owner of Manchester United. A man who was born in Greater Manchester. A man who grew up as a Manchester United fan. A man who is Britain's richest man and has the money on his own to buy our club. That's the dream. That's the ultimate dream. But we know who the Glazers are. And if the Glazers can look and maybe worm their way into a situation where they find somebody who they can just sell a minority, because remember this as well, Jim Ratcliffe, it was made clear, very clear yesterday, the only way that Jim Ratcliffe would buy Manchester United in terms of a minority stake is if it is part of a wider package to become the full owner in the future. Maybe the Glazers will try and find somebody like Apollo, like some equity firm in USA, who they can just sell a minority stake to, and then they don't have to do anything else. And then instead of having one set of Glazers, we've got two sets of Glazers. That's why these protests have to continue. This message came out from 1958 yesterday, and I want to reiterate this massively. Because this is what they said. So no complacency, this is not over. It's time to push hard to the finish line. Monday we expect large numbers. This is a chance for every United fan to be on the right side of history. Do not let this pass. Time to unite and put all differences aside. Let's get our club back. Man, let's absolutely get our club back. But we have to make sure that the club gets sold to the right people. Because if the club doesn't go into the right hands, we're going to be stuck in another cycle of the Glazers. It might not be the Glazers, but it will be somebody else. That's why I'm so excited about the idea of Jim Ratcliffe. Because it's dreamy. It's dreamy. The idea that it could go to one individual who was a Manchester United fan, growing up and grew up in Greater Manchester. It's dreamy. You couldn't write it, honestly. But it could, at the same time, go completely and utterly not the way we want. And that's why these protests have to absolutely continue. That's why you've got to, if you can, be there on Monday, right? Be there on Monday. Get involved in those protests. Let me go down here and see what you're saying. Graham, what are you saying? Glazers out. Fab just gave a here we go to Casemiro, did he? Well, let's find out then. Have a look. Surely not true. Rizio. Let's have a look. Why do people lie about these things? I don't really get it. What's the point? There you go. That was a wasted €2 there, Graham. Vicky, thank you very much. Hey, look, and I don't mean this disrespectfully. I suppose disrespectfully to myself. I don't care about 300k. I don't care about the numbers. I care about the fact that we're actually doing content here and making content that is making a difference. It's genuine, informed, insightful content that I think can help steer United fans in the right direction. That's always been my purpose, and that is what is coming here next. And I'll tell you what, this is something I agree with as well. That Manchester United Supporters Trust, right? You can have your doubts about them, and I think that's all completely fair enough. This is a statement that they released, which I absolutely agree with. It says speculation is mounting about a potential change of ownership or new investors at Manchester United. While supporters are called for change, and it's exactly what I'm trying to reiterate here, this has to be the right change. Any prospective new owner or investor has to be committed to the culture, ethos and traditions of the club. They have to be willing to invest to restore United to former glories, and that investment must be real new money spent on the playing side of the stadium. And any new ownership structure must embed supporters, including a degree of fan ownership, which of course, well, the fan ownership scheme hasn't exactly come to fruition, has it? That's something that we've been asking for a long, long time, something that Joel Glazer promised after the European Super League collapsed, but here we are still waiting for it. But this is why these protests are so important, man. Keep up what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, don't try and drag... I don't try and drag people down. I see a lot of people talking about this empty Old Trafford hashtag, and I've said it. I don't dismiss the idea of a boycott, but that is not something that you can get organised by 2,500 people retweeting it on Twitter. Mobilising something on that scale requires serious organisation from thousands and thousands of match-going fans that all agree in the same time. That's why you've got to get everybody working off the same page. The worst thing we can do at this moment in time is do a half-assed boycott where a couple of hundred people walk out and that's it. That will have a counterproductive impact. I think a boycott will happen this season, but I think it will be one that really gets organised over time. It won't be one that comes off the back of an empty Old Trafford hashtag or a sexy graphic. And I don't mean that to undermine the intentions of the people that are doing that, because the intentions are absolutely correct. But you cannot organise something like a boycott off the back of that, right? So what we're doing here, I say we, what the 1958 are doing here, this is what we need to get behind on Monday. Monday's not about boycotting the game. Monday's about making the most powerful protest outside the ground that maybe we've ever seen in terms of numbers outside Old Trafford. I think it's going to be absolutely substantial. There's a couple of new members there. I want to welcome you on board before I quickly move on. Wolfie, 35p. I like the name. Let me know where you're watching from, Wolfie. And we've also got Seamus. Seamus Collins, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you there too. Oh, this is so exciting what's coming here. This is what we've been waiting for. This. Honestly, man, I said this yesterday, and I will stand by this every single day until the end of this transfer window. I'm fine with United not making any signings whatsoever if it means we get closer to the Glazers leaving the club. And I'm going to move on to transfers next. The Glazers are the absolute focus, but the reality is that the transfer window is absolutely open, and it's been bonkers in the last 48 hours. Adding on to what has been a bit of a bonkers couple of weeks. It's fully mad. And you're saying, Sam, I think postponed games are the most effective solution. Yes, in theory, yes, they are, but I believe that was a one-off. There simply will be too much of a police presence on Monday for any sort of postponement to work. The only reason, I say the only reason, but the main reason the postponement worked for Liverpool last year was because two protests were mobilised at once. Everyone thought it was going to be Old Trafford where the focus was, but no. A group went to the Lowry and they blocked the players in. And United weren't expecting that. Caught them off guard, and that won't happen again. I don't even know if the players will stay in the Lowry on Sunday night. They might stay. You know, remember they were doing like different buses, and one bus had nobody on, and then the fans. It was weird. They did everything they could. I don't think we'll be able to get another game postponed, because I think the police presence will be too much. But we will continue to do everything we can. And as I say, it goes to show that fan power is a real, genuine thing. And do not underestimate it, man. Do not underestimate it. And it's brilliant watching this. It's brilliant watching this. Because if United fans had sat there complacently and sort of accepting it, I don't think the Glazers would be sort of being pushed into this funnel, I suppose. As I say, the pressure... External pressure has never really fazed the Glazers too much. But now the external pressure is happening at the same time, when from a business sense, it kind of makes sense for them to sell the club as well. That's where everything's sort of heading in the right direction now. That's why it's internal pressure at the same time as external pressure. But we've got to keep the pressure on, man. We've got to keep the pressure on. That's one thing I would absolutely implore. Jamie, saying if you weren't in Australia, you'd be there. I'm sure you would, man. I'm sure there are thousands and thousands and thousands of United fans all across the world who absolutely would be there if they could. And I'm looking forward to being there, but do what you can. I'm sure getting it trending. Yeah, you can't underestimate the power of digital protests as well. They can all have an influence because they force conversations that we'll maybe never know about. Maybe they've been part of the team viewer conversations. I don't really know whether they have been or not. But keep doing what you are doing. That's just all I'm imploring. I'm not trying to say that one person is better for somebody else simply because they can physically go to the protest or because they can do something else. I'm not any bigger than or more significant than anybody else just because I've got a channel. Everybody just do what you can do. Because to this point, it's all been part of this energy behind it. And it's working. Working to the point where we've got the man that we need. The potential saviour of Manchester United. And Jim Ratcliffe has laid his cards on the table. It's exciting, man. It really is. Ray, thank you very much, dude. What you said. You say whatever or whoever owns Manchester United, we must remember that results on the pitch matters more. Nothing hurts me more than seeing us getting thrashed under new ownership. Then we've got nothing. I mean, of course, that's what we're aiming towards. The reason we want new owners is not simply because we hate the Glazers, because we want to see our club being successful again. Absolutely, that's something that we all know. But that can't happen without the owners getting out of our club, and it's all part of the same process. And it's something that I was going to say later on in the show, but I will say this now, and I really, really want to reiterate this point, right? Let me pull this up, because I mean this with every fibre of my body. Do absolutely everything you can to support Erik ten Hag. Because if he can weather the storm we're about to go through and he comes out the other side of it with new owners who support him and support the club's ambitions, then genuinely, we are looking at the beginning of a new era for Manchester United, and Erik ten Hag being the man steering us in that direction. I absolutely, unequivocally support Erik ten Hag. What he's trying to instill is a new system which, just simply put, can't be made up of the parts that he has. He's like, it doesn't fit. It's like trying to put a key in a lock that doesn't turn. You can try everything you want. You can lube it up. You can turn it upside down. You can do whatever it's still not going to open that lock until you get the right keys. Until you get the right players in, you won't unlock Ten Hag's system. It's effectively what we're seeing is the players at loggerheads, because simply put, they don't want to do it, or maybe they don't want to do it, or they're not capable of doing it. There's a blocker somewhere. But support Ten Hag, man, and everything that he is doing, because if he can't, I can't feel sorry for him. He's put his whole ambition on the line, and he's walked into the club, and after 17 years of protests against the Glazers, 3 months into his tenure, the Glazers are open to selling a minority stake, and Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy the club. It's seismic what's going on at the club at the moment, and it's happening to him. So support him. Don't start. I've seen it. People are starting to question his tactics, question his substitutions. People, look at the long game. Really stop focusing on a game-to-game basis. I'd rather go through a painful season where we finish 11th if it means the Glazers get out of our club. I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really, really do. So I'm just imploring everyone just to support him. Don't get caught up in the game-to-game basis. Look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture here is the Glazers leaving Manchester United and this man taking over. That's the bigger picture. Wolfie, watching from Dole, Scotland. Hoping Sir Jim does buy United and make us great again. Thank you very much, dude. I was in Scotland 3 days in Glasgow. It definitely wasn't dull there. It was like Costa del Glasgow. It was hot as hell. David, I just hope your theory about the flatlining of business side holds true and we can get rid of them. Hey, David, honestly, I don't think we would be in this position if that theory wasn't true. Because it's not a theory. It's proven. There's 6 years of accounts. Man United's commercial growth has completely and utterly stagnated and flatlined over the last 6 years to the point where it cannot change without investment. And that's why the conversation here is being had by the Glazers with other equity firms as well about selling the club. But Jim's in the game. Jim's in the game. Ray, you're saying 100% support Ten Hag because he has to build a new side. He does, man, and he needs all sorts of support. Trevor, you're sitting here. It's a good question, actually. You think the class of 92 will get involved? Well, Ryan Giggs is otherwise occupied. Paul Scholes says, I mean, he's had influence, but not particularly. He's just kind of moaned. David Beckham is David Beckham, and he's busy out there with Inter Miami. Gary Neville is the one that could have an influence, and I would say Rio Ferdinand. Both of those at this particular moment in time could definitely have an influence. But I suppose let's see what happens next. Because his last 24 hours have been crazy. I've seen reports that former players, maybe it was a class of 92, were involved in helping Jim Ratcliffe decide to reach this point. At that point, it's just pure speculation. But everybody, this is what we've fought for. This is the beginning. Actually, no, it's not what we fought for. But now we're at the table. We've been let in the room. The door is ajar. And the fans just have to push it open and make sure that door stays ajar and it doesn't slam shut again. That's why the protests on Monday are absolutely involved. I'm reading the comments at the same time. That's why the protests on Monday are so important. Danny, you're down there saying you're going to the toll gate. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there at the toll gate. I'll be there for 6. So if anybody's going there, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to get involved. It's just, this is what for years. I can't remember what the first video I've done here on this channel. For years, the Glazers and the anti-Glazer content on this channel has been the utter core of United People's TV. At the absolute core of it. I have done countless. I mean, I'm not going to get invited to any party at Manchester United, that's for sure. I did so many videos against Woodward, against Glazers, exposing the strategy, time after time after time after time. And now we finally get the point where the door is starting to open. After years and years of knocking, we're getting there as a fan base, and that's big, big news. Lee, you sent a super chat, buddy, but you haven't said anything with this. I can't read out. I can't read out anything for you. But look, let's move. I say let's move on. We've got to talk about everything that's going on at the moment. It's bonkers. It really is bonkers. From Jim Ratcliffe and sort of Apollo and the equity firms and Glazers willing to sell a minority stake. Yeah, last 12 hours, absolutely mad. But then when you take another look and you look, it's what I mean. Man United at the moment are just this vortex. You're in the middle and you're not really sure which way to look, what area to focus on, where's the exit route, because there's so much going on. It's wild. I mean, look, players linked to Manchester United in the last 3 days in the transfer market, and this list isn't even a line. It's probably not exhaustive. Pulisic, Casemiro, João Felix, Cunha, Munier, Vardy, Rabiot, Aubameyang, Morata, Sommer, Dest, and Caicedo. What's going on with Manchester United in the transfer market? Honestly, it's crazy. Darren, I hope this is true, right? I really hope this is true. That I've sort of influenced some of you to really hyper-focus on the atrocities that the Glazers have put onto our club, and to really never let it be a conversation that gets ignored. I hope that's the case, because honestly, it's always been a massive, massive purpose of mine. Vibe have you saying, look, can we get a live stream from the protest? Maybe, maybe not. I'll be honest, I don't particularly like when I'm involved in something like that. I don't really want to be holding a phone. But maybe I'll be able to, right? I'll have a look. I'll see what I can do. Or maybe I can get someone to help me with it. I don't know. We'll see. But, whoa. Look at this, man. You got Jason Burt from the Telegraph saying that Manchester United are targeting 5 new signings in a frantic end to the transfer window. Erik ten Hag is pushing for additions with a right back, 2 midfielders, another winger, and a new striker. We've got 13 days left, and we're talking about 5 transfers. Now, as I said, this is not the main story. This is not the focus of Manchester United fans. This is why I'm going to be doing 2 videos today, because so much is going on at the moment. And what I will say quickly, I'm going away for a couple of days. So I won't be doing a live stream tomorrow, or I won't be doing a live stream on Friday morning when I'm on my way up to Manchester. But I will be doing videos in between, but there won't be live videos. So make sure you please watch those 2, because I think they'll still be good. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I'm doing 2 videos today. One that's going out at lunchtime, which is going to be all about this man, all about Jim Ratcliffe. But then I'm going to do a video later on this evening about the transfers and sort of trying to get my head around it. I'm trying to get my head. I'm trying to help you get your head around it. It's really, I don't know. You don't know where to look. You really don't know where to look. You're like, what do you mean, Begovic, Pulisic? Where's that come from? What, 130 million for Jacks? Really, you know, obviously a lot of it's going to be speculation by the papers. It's not all completely gospel truth, but it's hard to sort of sieve your way through it at the moment. It really is. There's so much going on. And Casemiro, right? When this Casemiro story started, I just laughed. I just laughed about it. But maybe I was wrong to do that, because it really genuinely looks like Manchester United are going after Casemiro, and we're doing it aggressively. This is from Andy Mitten, writing for, is it National News? Let's read through what he has to say. It said, Casemiro, who moved to Madrid in 2013, has 3 years left on his Madrid contract, a figure sources tell the national amounts to $5 million per year after taxes. But it's up to Casemiro to get his head around the time at Madrid being over. United's offer is believed to be substantially more than his current deal and would run for 4 years. Now, there's actually been separate reports, not confirmed, it's still speculation at this point, suggesting that we're willing to double Casemiro's wages, which kind of reeks of the old Manchester United poor policy. But when you're panicking like this, we're panicking. Do you think Casemiro will sign? Type yes or no in the comments. I know what my answer is. I want to know what your answer is. But there's more information here from Andy Mitten on the Casemiro situation. He says this. He said, United have yet to contact Real Madrid, but the player and his agents are aware of the interest. They are not quashing it. It would be for the player to accept United's offer and then tell Madrid not to demand a prohibitive figure to sell him, like they did when Modric and Inter. The Nacional understands that Casemiro is yet to decide. One key factor is if Casemiro feels he's going to be a key starter for Madrid in the next 2 to 3 years, like he is now. And of course, Real Madrid, I'm so jealous of how Real Madrid have replaced their midfield. They're replacing in the midfield of Casemiro, Kroos and Modric with Tchouaméni and Camavinga. It's like, you bastards. Like, we can't even replace a midfield from years ago, let alone what you're doing. And Casemiro has been a key part of that. Of course he has. But now that Tchouaméni's on the scene, there's a new kid on the block. And he's at a position where, I don't know, maybe he's got to think about it. Let's go down here. Matthew saying, look, love the Casemiro. Love it, man. Geez, Casemiro, he's got to be up there in your top 3 defensive midfielders, right? Surely, in the world. He's saying, but the proposed terms of the deal worry me. Go and sink the club even further. Seems like United are playing career mode. Yeah, it seems like United are playing career mode. It's coming to the end. They got drunk in the first couple of months. They're like, crap, we need to make some signings. Right, lads, I've got it covered. Let's go. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. You're saying no. Casemiro's another Schweinsteiger? No, he's definitely not another Schweinsteiger. Absolutely not. I don't think so anyway. Casemiro is absolutely top quality. Like, really, really top quality. And he's still got legs left. When we signed Schweinsteiger, that was years too late. Lots of you down here, I'll be honest. It's quite... I think a lot of you down here are on the same wavelength as I am. I mean, not all of you. Matt, Antony actually don't want him. Casemiro would be us just saying, you know what, Frankie de Jong, we tried. We absolutely tried, but that was a misguided prospect. And maybe I mean, I'm sure people can dig up some serious stuff from me saying things about de Jong that I don't particularly want to see again. But Manchester United were absolutely convinced that de Jong would sign. Us going after Casemiro at this point is absolutely an acceptance that may or probably won't happen. For me, the Casemiro situation just gives me Sergio Ramos flashbacks, in my opinion. A sort of a player that Madrid, on paper, doesn't particularly want to sell. But if you come in with an outrageous offer, they're like, okay, right, we might consider it. And then he'll just sign a new contract. Apparently, he's already signed a new contract. I don't know. I personally don't think it will happen, but let's find out. And of course, it's when you take into the context of what's been going on behind the scenes. The Glazers, this isn't just like speculation anymore. The Glazers are having investment talks about people buying parts of the club. So when you look at our spend this summer, our inactivity, our resistance for transfers, a lot of it makes more sense. A lot of it makes more sense. So the idea now that we're going to go and spend 70, 80 million on Casemiro and double his wages, you'd be like, it kind of doesn't really tie in. It kind of doesn't really make logical sense. Hey, look, I'd be happy to be proven wrong. Would I take? Of course I would take Casemiro. I would worry about the wages he was on. I would worry about what that would do inside there. But geez, man, you think I'm not going to be excited about signing like one of the top 3 defensive midfielders in the world? Come on. I've been crying out for a signing in that position. And if you think about it from a logical perspective, Casemiro and Fred, it works for Brazil. Why couldn't it work for Manchester United? It's just an interest. Lots of you saying that Casemiro signed a contract last season. Well, there you go. So he won't be signing a new contract. That means his value is protected. It means it's going to cost a lot of money. But it's not just Casemiro we're talking about with this major transfer. This is why I'm going to have to do a video on the transfers later this evening after I've covered the more important news of Jim Ratcliffe first. And that's Antony. Fabrizio Romano here last night saying that Manchester United plan to go in for Antony again before the end of the window. Deal considered more than difficult as Ajax want to keep him, but United will try again. Cody Gakpo remains the easier option on the list, but of course we know that he is involved in Champions League playoffs with Rangers against PSV, and their second game doesn't happen for 6 days. So if Cody Gakpo happens, we can't really do anything until after that game happens. But Man United, if we're going back in for Antony, I'll be honest, I don't think it's going to end in a nice conversation. I don't think it's going to be a nice conversation for Manchester United. I just don't see how or why Ajax are going to be selling at this point in the summer. And at this point, because of everything that we now know and we now understand about what's going on behind the scenes at Manchester United, you look at all this transfer speculation, you're like, how much of it do you take with a pinch of salt? Even if it's coming from Fabrizio, even if it's coming from David Ornstein, you'd be like, are we really, after all this summer, posturing, holding back, are we really going to go and then offer 80 million euros to Ajax for Antony? It doesn't make any logical sense. Are we really going to go and offer 70 million for Casemiro? That one you can understand a slight more logic if we're reversing away from the Frenkie de Jong deal and switching conversation to Casemiro. I don't know, I just can't see it happening. But look, it's not just these two, and this is the wildness of it all. I covered it there at the start. All these different players linked to us, and then you got separate reports out in Spain I mean, come on, man. We have not offered 130 million for João Felix. Christian Pulisic, Andy Mitten yesterday afternoon, saying that Manchester United are considering a loan for him, and I'm like, what's that name? Is that Chris? That's Christian Pulisic. Decent enough player, absolutely horrendous injury record. Christian Pulisic. I'm like, what is going on? And then raising the Christian Pulisic confusion, we're having a conversation about Asmir Begovic. Dude, Jan Sommer I can understand a little bit more, I think, than Asmir Begovic. We've already got Tom Heaton. Why are you going to go after Asmir Begovic when Tom Heaton is... He's basically... He's a Begovic level. He's a Begovic... That's a pointless conversation, in my opinion. Just stick with Tom Heaton if you're going to go after Begovic. And then on top of that, I mean, I knew the Aubameyang. I was going to tweet about it as soon as as soon as all these transfer stories came out. I said, look, I guarantee you we get some sort of link to Aubameyang in the next 2 days. Bingo bango, we have been linked with him. But Aubameyang's going absolutely nowhere near Manchester United. Let's not be beating around the bush. But it all goes back to what I said earlier in this stream. Going back to what I said about the Glazers, support this man, right? I don't want to hear or see any United fans going crazy if we lose to Liverpool on Monday, if the performance isn't there. I do not doubt his coaching credentials. I doubt his ability to be able to put that influence and that coaching influence in a club of Manchester United's size. Yes, I do. Of course, there are doubts and fears, which I'm sure you share too. But you have to give the man leeway when he's swimming upstream. He's not just swimming upstream at Manchester United. It's like everyone's actively standing on his head and trying to drown him. Like, he's getting no support whatsoever. The board is now backing out and trying to sell. So how are they going to give him the signing he needs? He's got John Murtough, who really hasn't done his job properly. And he doesn't have a scouting department that he can go and rely on. The only people that he can rely on inside that club are Steve McLaren and Mitchell van der Gaag. Anybody else? Doubts. Confusion. Ten Hag is the right man. And I will absolutely stand firm on this. There's a video I want to say here. Big shout out to Bet Victor for supporting United People's TV. I want to pull up a video that they've had this week because there's a conversation about Erik ten Hag. So just have a little snippet here and listen to what Adam had to say.
I'm honestly fully behind the manager. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Of course, all right, maybe he made a mistake or two in selection or something like that. But ultimately, I think what he's asking of these players isn't isn't the wrong thing. I think he's just got idiots trying to carry it out. I mean,
but that's his fault, though, isn't it? If you ask, you need to solve a complex mathematical equation, and you ask an idiot to solve it for you.
You mentioned Cristiano, but who else has he got? Like, you mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo earlier. Like, he would probably love to be able to go, you know what, Cristiano, no, just do one, please. And then he does that, and we got no striker.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm trying to solve.
Replace Cristiano Ronaldo with a striker.
I'm trying to solve getting to Mars, but I'm not coming to you boys for it. Like, with the greatest of respect.
We want to.
Look, you can see Paul Machin there, of course, Liverpool fan. That's what they're going to try and do. Everyone's going to try and twist the knife permanently and constantly with Erik ten Hag now. So if I do have any sort of influence here on United People's TV, I really want to implore you, do not get involved in that. Do not be... Look, have the frustrations about performances, have frustrations about tactics and so... Yeah, question things, yes. But don't try and run over Erik ten Hag at the moment, man. He needs our support, seriously. Right now, more than ever, we've got light at the end of the tunnel. And this man is definitely part of that, right? So there's a link in the description of the video. I would encourage you to please click on that link, go over there, and just drop a like on the comment that I've left on there. It will help, it will show Bet Victor that the community here engages with the content over there, and they can continue supporting us and helping the channel grow. And I can keep doing more giveaways. I've done a giveaway last week. I need to do more giveaways. I definitely will be. There's a super chat that came in there. Let me read that out. I don't want to miss it. Dave saying, Jim is from Failsworth, town next to Newton Heath, where United started all those years ago. Not just an owner, but a supporter and a local, a dream option. You couldn't have said it better myself there, Dave. And as I said, my focus here is definitely going to be on Jim Ratcliffe today. My focus is going to be on explaining to you everything about Jim Ratcliffe, what he's done in his career to date, what sports teams he's been involved in, how much he's worth, because it's these sorts of things that we have to start understanding. I'm going to do my own due diligence in terms of our owners, because if we're not careful, Manchester United could be sold into the wrong hands and we could be stuck with Glazers V2. Now that cannot happen. Now hopefully that will not happen. So you have to make sure that we do our due diligence as fans, and we'll speak about Jim Ratcliffe. I'll do that this afternoon. But look, thank you very much for all joining in today. As I said, the next few days are going to be slightly different content. I won't be here tomorrow. I'm going away for a couple of days, and then I'm going to be going to the game on Monday. So there'll be no live stream tomorrow. There'll be no live stream on Monday. I'm going to have a video out at lunch today on Jim Ratcliffe. Later on this evening, I'm going to be doing a video on the transfer madness. I have to cover it. I have to speak about it. It's just crazy, but I want to speak about Jim Ratcliffe first. Tomorrow, I'll be doing my predicted 11 for the Liverpool game. And then across the weekend, if things happen, I'll probably react to them, but they won't be live. They'll be shorter videos. Then I'll be going to the protest and the game on Monday. I'll try and see if I can do something about a live video from the protests. If I have the signal for that, that'll be a cool thing to do. But if not, I don't know. Just follow me on Instagram. Check us out on Twitter. Thank you very much, everyone, for everything. Honestly, man, we're here now as a community, and I say this together as a community. We're here at a point where we've not been able to get to for decades. Not only are the Glazers considering selling, but we have the richest man in Britain, a Manchester-born Manchester United fan in Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who wants to buy the club. We've got our prospective owner at the same time as we've got our owners trying to sell. This is what we've been waiting for, right? So make sure you do what you can, keep your protests up. But look, I'll be there on Monday. If you're there, come say hello at the toll gate at 6 o'clock. If not, let's just watch us beat Liverpool and go above in the league. It's easy. It's so easy.